Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Have you been struggling how to face pawn to e5 when you play pawn to e4? Well, worry not. In this video, we are going to see how yours truly, International Master Alan Safaramuta, handles when black plays pawn to e5 with the fast and furious Scotch Gambit. It has already been a few months since the release of my course, The Fast and Furious Scotch Gambit on Chessable. And people have been asking many questions, such as, Alan Safa, do you still play the Fast and Furious Scotch Gambit? Or did you just make it for a course and it's not really your opening? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you that in my own tournament games, I actually play the lines that I give in my course. First of all, this game was played very recently. This was played in the Central League of Serbia, which is a team tournament where different teams come together. There's 6 players per team, and everyone, of course, has their own board, their own opponent. And it's a very, very strong tournament. In this game, I was white pieces against around a 2150 rated FIDE rated player who's an experienced master. And in this game, I knew my opponent was playing pawn to e5, and I thought, well, obviously, if I wrote a course on how to play against e5, I'm going to play my own line. So I played pawn to e4. And you may ask, what is the fast and furious Scotch Gambit? Well, after pawn to e5, I played knight to f3. Black played knight to c6. Now, there are 2 ways that you can reach the fast and furious Scotch Gambit. You can first play pawn to d4, and after black takes with the pawn, you now bring your bishop out to c4. And then after black plays bishop to c5, you play pawn to c3. And the best move for black now is to play knight f6, as if he takes the pawn on c3. There's the move bishop captures f7. With the idea of king takes, there's queen d5, bringing the king out to danger and winning back. However, bishop to c4 is the second way that you can reach the opening, and I started with it. Black played bishop to c5. Here I played pawn to c3, hinting for the move pawn to d4. Black played knight to f6, and I went right ahead with pawn to d4. Black takes, I take, and he played bishop to b4 check. And my opponent has played e5 for his whole life, but after I played knight bd2, he was already confused. I am offering the pawn on e4. He can take this pawn for free, or he can strike with pawn to d5. My opponent clearly was not prepared. It was definitely perhaps the first time he saw this in his life. And I covered this opening in detail, full length, in my Chessable course. My opponent, he castled a very logical move. And most of your opponents are going to be not so strong players, above 2000 FIDE rating. They're going to be club players, perhaps amateurs. So if this guy played castles, will your opponent know what to do? He didn't. I played pawn to d5, kicking his knight back. Black moved knight e7. I simply castle, getting my king out. And this pawn on d5 is like a bone in the throat to black. It takes away a lot of space. It cramps his pieces. His bishop on b4 is also in the wrong zone. Black played d6. I kick away his bishop. Bishop goes back. Pawn to b4, kicking the bishop back again. And now I place my bishop on the very nice long diagonal. So all my pieces are out with harmony. My center is strong. Black still has to develop his bishop and c8. So now I perhaps want to double his pawns, but bishop captures f6, so he played knight g6. And here I played the very simple move, pawn to h3, basically limiting his bishop from coming out. Black here, he panicked. He didn't know what to do. Pawn on d5 was so unbearable that he played pawn to c6, challenging it. What did I do? I thought here for some time. I decided to play b captures c6. And after b captures c6, I realized this. Black has these 2 weak pawns. However, his bishop is open. His other bishop is open. But so are my 2 bishops. I decided that I need to put some pressure on these 2 pawns somehow. I wanted to connect my rooks, so I played the move queen c2. If I played queen b3, I didn't want to run into the move pawn to d5. After queen c2, I saw that if d5, I always had ideas like bishop f6, queen f6, and I simply win a pawn with e captures d5. That was one idea that I saw. So d5 was not playable. He played bishop b7. Clearly he wants to get d5. Now here, after some thought, I played the move pawn to e5 with the whole idea that if black takes, I take back with the knight knight, and now he has a bad bishop on b7 and a weak pawn structure. Meanwhile, my pieces are very active and healthy. Black played knight d5. Okay, I took on d6. I improved my knight to e4, attacking his queen. He played queen f4. And here I realized this black bishop on b6 is a bit annoying. It's quite strong, it bears down on my king. So what to do? Knight to c5, naturally attacking his bishop and closing the scope of his b6 bishop. Black played bishop c8, and here was a very important moment. Sometimes in chess, we always say bishops are better than knights. We never should give the bishop for the knight. However, I realized this knight on d5 is a very solid piece, and it also blocks my bishop on d5. I actually took this knight. Now he has this isolated pawn on d5, which could easily be attacked. Here I first played queen c3, threatening mate in 1. I provoked the move f6, which kind of weakens his king. Now in hindsight, I should have perhaps just simply brought out my rook to d1 to attack his pawn on d5. I played queen b3, and I underestimated the power of the move queen to c4. And I realized that if I would trade the queens here, and he takes back with the pawn on c4, black would have enough resources to perhaps save the game. So if I played rook c1 attacking the pawn, he could simply take and then bring his bishop out to a6, and black is holding on to the pawn. I decided to play bishop to d4. I want to trade queens on my own terms. If he takes my queen, I take back. He is stuck with the weak pawn, and meanwhile I want to trade his powerful bishop. I would then put rooks on the c file, try to invade, and then I could also put pressure on the d5 pawn. Black played knight f4. Here I played the simple move, rook e1, not rushing with any decisions. Knight e2 is not an idea. Simply I will take, and then queen captures d5 with a double attack. Black played bishop f5, and it was at this moment I knew exactly when to break the tension. Now I struck with queen to e3, attacking his knight. And after black moved back his knight, I realized one thing. The black queen now is actually very short of squares. Rook ac1, queen has to go back, and now re-maneuvering queen b3, attacking the pawn on d5, and his queen is in a very funny square. I want to play pawn to a4, and the queen cannot go to e8, cannot go to d7, it can only go to c6, which is in the eye of my rook. He played knight f4. I was not afraid of this. I found a very nice sequence, simply bishop e3. After he played knight e2, I simply took on d5 with check, also attacking his bishop on f5, took his bishop, and now I have basically two knights and a pawn for a rook, which is a clear winning advantage. He played queen e2. I simply brought back my queen, consolidating my position. Rook fd8, and after I played queen to c3, it was here that my opponent resigned. Black has no counterplay. He's very passive, he's down in material, and it's very easy for me to continue the game. Maybe I would have ideas of knight d4, wanting to improve the knight to f5, c6 or e6, or a4. Whatever it is, white is simply winning here, and it's just a matter of time. So in this video, you saw that I actually used my own course lines in my own tournament games. The lines that I recommend to you guys, I actually play. It's actually my lines. Whenever I teach you an opening, I teach you my personal opening that I've been playing over my chess career as an international master. If you enjoyed this content, like the video, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.